Personally, I think many Israeli companies benefit from being acquired, and I think many Israeli managers benefit from learning the skills of corporates, whether they be in the US or other places, and they come back enriched. I think for the long-term viability of the industry, are there enough managers that could run a number of large Israeli companies that are A, growing, investing abroad, bringing more talent here? I think there are. I don't know how many managers you need as a ratio to R&D excellence. I don't know that statistic, but it's not 1 for 1. So I think it should be checked.
So I think, you know, again, if you are in US, you're never asked about the origination of your business if you're in technology. If you're outside of US, and especially in obscure places like Singapore or Russia, it's a very common topic. It's like, oh, you're a Russian company, or oh, you're a Singaporean company, or oh, you're Israeli companies. Reality is that there are 3 functions in technology company. One function is related to technology itself, engineering, R&D, technology. Another function is not important, it's related to going public, it's operations, finance, and it can be anywhere. And another function, which is also important, is a business function. And of course, fortunately or not, the business function is closer to where is your largest consumer market. And today, the largest market for technology is North America and America in general. And so naturally, there is many more people capable of running large and scalable technology companies in the US. That's simply because they will sell and market and business develop, and this is 3 functions you need to do, in those markets, because that's where the customers are. So they're not in Israel. Israel, what's a local IT market is probably not even 1% of global.
Bruce, I'd like to ask you a question, which is for a change, not contrarian. NASDAQ has been extremely successful as an exchange, and obviously the model has been around for a while. There are some other useful exchanges, but still NASDAQ is synonymous with tech IPOs. Why is that, and how was that created?
You know, well, NASDAQ started just 42 years ago, and we pioneered electronic trading. And today, every market around the world trades electronically. But we haven't just sat on our laurels. We've continued to innovate. And when we're talking about acquisitions, you know, I think one thing NASDAQ OMX is known for is our integration and acquisition strategy. We've done over 20 acquisitions in the last 10 years. We just did 2 this year. We do integrate them. They are part of our culture. We just bought Thomson Reuters IR businesses, and we bought eSpeed earlier this year. So, you know, we are the best performing exchange by EPS growth in the last 5 years. So, but we've done that by diversifying our businesses. And I think that's just like any public company. You've got to continue to grow and find ways to innovate. And I think because of that, we've continued to attract some of those innovative companies in the world. From technology IPOs to actually a lot of switches from other exchanges. We have over 550 billion in market cap that switched from other exchanges to NASDAQ. Just last week, Marriott Hotels switched from the New York Stock Exchange to NASDAQ. So I think we're just known for innovation and growth. We're proud of that heritage, and it's something that attracts some of the best companies in the world.
And Sergei, if I can ask you, I have very little insight into the Russian and Eastern European side of the business, and I know you're based in Singapore.
I'm not based in Singapore. I'm based in
the world.
In the world,
yes.
But okay, fine.
I'm curious about Russia. We keep hearing about Russia as an up-and-coming market. There's a lot of tech venture now focused on Russia. Is there a public market that is developing? Is there an M&A activity that's internal to Russia?
Yeah, most certainly. If you look at the statistics, the number of companies with Russian R&D which are going public in various stock exchanges is growing, and the amounts are growing, and there is also M&A activity. The VC activity has grown super dramatically this year versus last year. It's about the same, but a little bit higher maybe. But if you compare last year to 3 years before, it has grown 6 times. So number of transactions has grown 6 times. That means number of companies. Any VC-funded company wants exit. not for the founders. And I'm sort of still in the founder role, so founders may not need an exit, but VCs, they must have an exit. And so if they've invested in the business, they want the exit. And so because the number of deals have grown so dramatically, I think over 5 years it has grown more than 10 times. There will be many more exits.
Yeah, I mean, just adding on to Russia. Russia's a great market for NASDAQ. We had Yandex, obviously one of the sponsors here, as well as Kiwi went public from Russia earlier this year. And we're actually about to sign a deal with the Russian Stock Exchange because they do want to associate with the NASDAQ tech sector. So Russia's a great market for us and one we see as a huge pipeline for growth.
And Dorit, I would like to ask you, representing the local exchange, given exchanges like NASDAQ, given that there is a lot of IPO activity in other places in the world, can the Tel Aviv exchange really serve as a platform that would attract great companies, or would it be sort of a secondary target?
I think that the exchange can perform and can make companies go public on the exchange. Of course, the criteria for going public on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange totally different. And we think that the companies, especially technology companies and R&D companies, should conduct their first IPOs on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and then after growing, they can meet the criteria needed on NASDAQ and also go public there. I want to go back to the committee that was set up by the ISA and the TASE. And the mandate of the company was to identify what recommendations should be set up for encouraging technology companies going public, because there is a huge difference between the startups companies in Israel. We know that Israel is a startup nation, and between the number of those companies on the exchange. So there are 5 main recommendations that the company established. It is in this stage, it's only the interim recommendation. I think the committee will publish its final report in a few days. First of all, the members of committee try to decide what kind of company should be encouraged. And the committee members believe that those companies should be relatively large companies at their growth stage. So the criteria for those companies was a market cap of 250 million shekels, or an annual sale of 80 million shekels and a market cap of 185 million shekels. Here in the local market, it's a relatively large company. Think that those companies couldn't conduct IPOs on NASDAQ. After deciding the target companies, in addition to that, the exchange will set up a new list, the Tech Elite list, and the company on this list will be encouraged. The list will consist of the new target companies and also traded R&D companies. The criteria for already traded R&D companies are market cap of 400 million shekels. The exchange will also establish indexes on this list, so I believe that there will be ETFs on this list, and so the elite list stocks will be very liquid. There are also recommendations about easing of governance requirements and also tax breaks for those companies. And we believe that these recommendations will help Israeli companies conduct their IPO on the exchange. We looked up the statistics, and we think that there are at least 100 companies that can meet this criteria. So we hope that this will help them.
Hope so too. Can I ask you on this topic, a lot of Israeli companies actually get established in the US. They're Delaware companies. Checkpoint is one example of a company that is not listed in the was not registered in the US first. Historically, this was always considered to be an issue in terms of going public, and that Israeli-based companies were traded at some discount. Do you feel at this point it is important to still be a Delaware company or a foreign company, or is that something that doesn't matter anymore?
Again, technology businesses most of the time are highly global, and perhaps it's going to change in the future, but today the main currency for technology businesses is US dollars. And so, for example, when I talk to different stock exchanges, and when we were sort of going public, we did get approached by Russian stock exchange and Hong Kong stock exchange and Singapore stock exchange and Frankfurt stock exchange. Every time they will talk to me in anything but US dollars, it will scare me. So, for example, shekels, it scares me. As a technology company, I want to be compared to Facebook or Google, and their market caps are in US dollars, and they are on NASDAQ. That's one thing. The second thing is that technology businesses are global, and the core of technology business, arguably somewhere in between product management, marketing, and R&D, but probably mostly R&D. And so it is important to maximize the harvesting of the brains. And the legal entities are related to the sales structure. And if the sales structure of the company is primarily Asia, it might be Singapore. It's primarily Europe and Asia. It might be Switzerland. If it's primarily North America, Europe, and Asia in this order, it could be US. It's a topic which is way over discussed by governments. You know, if you think about this, even for Microsoft, you see Microsoft is a US company. Well, yeah, Microsoft is a US company, but a lot of its cash are in Ireland. All of their global operations are run out of Ireland. And Cisco, Intel, they all have specialized structures. And, perhaps a core entity could be a specific place, but they have a complicated legal structures. I personally do not really think it's important where the legal entity is, as long as it's in a reasonable place.
Finally, I'd like to just spend 1 minute talking about two more famous Israeli companies that did go public, and that's Checkpoint and Teva. And I think Teva has been very acquisitive. They have acquired their largest competitor for more than $7 billion. Checkpoint, on the other hand, has been always criticized for not making acquisitions, but is still growing nicely. I wonder if you have a take on, is this an Israeli thing? Is there a right and wrong way to build up value post-IPO?
You want to talk about this? Sure. I think there is no right or wrong way. It depends on your business. Technology is becoming 20% of global economy over the next some years. Maybe 20 years. I forgot the statistics. And technology companies are not really technology companies. Some of them are finance companies, which are technology focused. Some of them are healthcare companies. Some of them are professional services businesses, and they're all in different segments. And in every segment, it's highly dependent whether you can expand globally, in which countries, which regulations work for you. And so it's really not the question you can answer in any specific way. I think it depends on your business.
I think it depends, which is the standard consulting answer to everything. But I think for most Israeli companies in most markets, the equation of how long is it going to take me to develop this organically, and how arrogant am I to some extent in my knowledge that I can do this myself in an area which is not caught either in product or market, versus buying a technology that's already proven or that has the skills, is an important equation. And I think if Israeli companies can continue to get better at M&A, that logically in many industries can be a faster vehicle to growth and a safer one, given the fact that companies can't do everything themselves. But again, it depends on the industry, and it depends on many other variables.
I think we're pretty much out of time. I don't know, do we have 2 minutes? So we can take maybe one question out of the audience if there is anybody that has a question for the panel. Autumn Leaves. Okay. I'd like to thank you all for showing up this early in the morning. I'd like to thank the panelists for making it all the way to Israel and for participating in this panel. And I'd like to wish all of you a productive day. Thank you very much.